In this video, we're going to look at a few more advanced settings using the gradebook. So once again, we click on grades to go into the gradebook. And you'll notice that when you get there, that the default view of the gradebook is a grader report. And the grader report is really just the spreadsheet of all your grades. Remember, we had put in these two grades in our gradebook already. And not only does it show the average for that assignment, but it also shows the total for the course to date. And it will only give you the course total on the assignments that have actually been graded. Here is the test grade item that we put in, and that was obviously an offline thing because we actually entered it directly into the gradebook. So let's look at some of the setup items for our gradebook. Now, whenever you want to change what you see about the gradebook, you always click this menu to the top left. Presently, we're in the grader report. You can look at all of these other different views. Setup, you have these three choices, and then you can select scales, outcomes, etc., 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 etc. We're not really going to focus on many of these things down here right now, except to point out how you can export your grades to an Excel spreadsheet or a plain text file. So what we want to look at now, though, is actually the setup. And the first one we're going to look at is we're going to go back to categories and items where we entered those extra assignments in last time. And we get back to the same screen that we had before. And what I want to show you now is that if you look at this second column, well, the first column, as we know, these are all of our assignments. The second column, though, is the weights. Now, we know that we had set 100% for each of these assignments. So the maximum grade for each assignment is 100, and when you add them all up, that means there's a total of 700 grades for the course. This column here is going to say how much each of these different assignments contribute to the overall grade. And because we haven't set any specific weights, what's going to happen is that it's going to weight each one of these things equally. In other words, because there are 7 assignments, it's going to divide 100 by 7 to get the weights for each of these individual assignments. Now, you can change that. You don't have to have them weighted all the same, even if you leave them all at 100% points. You can make them contribute differently to the overall grade by setting the weights. So, for example, supposing I just said I wanted the first one only to be weighted 10%. Just put a 10 in here, and then I'm going to go and save the changes. But watch what happens when I save those changes and leave that as 10. It says here your weights have been adjusted to total 100. In other words, because I put in 10 here and didn't put anything else in these other columns, what it's going to do is it's going to say, okay, 10% is going to go for this first assignment. That leaves me with 90%. So I have these 6 others. I'm going to divide up those 90 points between these 6 assignments. 90 divided by 6 is 15. So all of these now become 15%. You could go ahead and see how these would change again. So supposing that I actually wanted to put weights for each of these, I'm going to put that one to 5, and I'm going to put this one to 20, and I'm going to put this one here also to 5, and let's see what happens. Save this here, save changes, and again, the weights have been adjusted to total 100. And so these 3 things have become 20. Well, let's just check to make sure that that's correct. You have 10, 15, 15 and 20 is 35, 40. So we've used up 40 of our points here. We have remaining only 60 to divide up between these 3. 60 divided by 3 is 20, so each of these must be worth 20 each. So that's just how you set up the weights for your grades. It's always best to plan this out before you actually start to enter, and certainly before people actually do any of the assignments. plan out the maximum grade for each assignment and the weights, so that once you enter these assignments into your course, you can set the gradebook up completely before you actually start to assign and grade assignments.